All right, guys, we are live. NFL Week 3 preview. If you are listening to this after it was recorded, you're playing it back, I would recommend to just go ahead and just skip to probably the minute and a half mark. I just want to kind of just go ahead and tweet out that we're live and probably going to answer a couple questions, and then we have a couple of improvements from last week to this week. I'm really looking forward to the Week 3 preview, guys. Look, Week 3 is here. It is one of my. I mean, there's a lot of good games this week, and we have a couple people already in here. Salty Wings. We have a couple other. Hi, what's up, guys? How we doing? Like I said, I'm just tweeting out the link right now. NFL Week 3 preview, and we will absolutely go through all of these. Like I said, I'm just tweeting this link out, and let's go ahead. NFL Week 3 preview, and we have a lot of games to discuss, guys. So let's go ahead and break it down. So what I want to do, I came up with this little thing. I spent a lot of time doing this today. We have each teams, we have their logo, and then we have where they're playing. So let's see here. Brandon says, it's my birthday. Happy birthday, Brandon. Hope you're having a great day. Let's see. Wings and Abs says, thoughts on the Bryce Young. Oh, we'll get to all of that. I promise we will get to all of that. But guys, look, Giants, Browns. The Browns don't have David Njoku. This is going to be a tough game. I mean, I think this is going to be a really low scoring game. I don't think it's going to be a 27-24 shootout by any means. There's a lot of questions that I have, and one of my questions that I have with the Giants, not just against the Browns, but I have this question for really any game they play for the remainder of the year. I mean, they put up 18 points last week. They only put up 6 points in week 1 against the Vikings. Guys, how are the Giants going to consistently score and consistently get in the end zone? And just being honest, I don't think they're going to go into Cleveland and win. And granted, we're going to use that similar logic for a couple of other games, and we'll get to all of those games in a minute. But guys, I don't trust Daniel Jones on the road against a very good defense. And keep in mind, they were playing a much inferior defense last week against the Washington Commanders, and they only put up 18 points. The kicking situation for the Giants last week was also a joke. To not go into a game with a backup kicker, and then once he's down, you're effectively done, and you lose due in large part to that. To lose by 7 field goals, to me, is kind of the epitome of what the New York Giants have been over the past really year and a half. Now for the Browns, I think this is going to be. I think they're going to improve to 2-1. Please comment what you guys think the score is in the. Please go ahead and drop a comment what you think the score is. Also, if you are enjoying the content, please drop a like, because we're going to be going through all of the remaining games for week 2. But I just don't think the Browns are going to lose to a Daniel Jones-led team. I mean, that's what it boils down to me. I mean, I don't think Devin Singletary is all that good. I don't think the Giants' offense is all that good. And for reference, the Giants are 27th right now in rushing attempts. They're 22nd in rushing yards. They're not killing it by any means. I mean, they're not out here rushing for 200 yards a game to prevent Daniel Jones from having to throw the ball 40 times a game. They put up 24 total points in 2 games. The Browns' defense is legit. I have a lot of concerns with the Browns moving forward. Obviously, I would imagine that we all feel the same way about Deshaun Watson at this point, but the drops for the Browns has also been a big problem. And whether the quarterback is Deshaun or whether it's Mahomes or Allen or whoever, you have to fix the drops. And the Browns have dropped, to my knowledge, 8 passes in 2 weeks, and that's a very big issue. Now, for my score prediction, I think it's going to be ugly. I think it's going to be a lot of defense, a lot of ground and pound, not a lot of points. I think it's going to be like 14-9 Cleveland is where I think that this is going to go. Team Map, what's up? How we doing? Let's see your thoughts on Pats Jets game last night. It wasn't pretty. Obviously, it definitely was not pretty. That was a very just. That was kind of how I expected that game to go. Just not a lot of offense. The Jets' defensive line really got after Jacoby Brissett, and that game last night when they had Cade Wallace out at left tackle, that was forget me being a fan of the Vikings. Because I know every time I bring this up, I'm just upset because my team didn't get Drake May. That's how it goes. That's every time I bring this up, that's how the conversation goes. So I'm fine with J.J. McCarthy and Dallas Turner and having our first round pick next year. But that situation is terrible, man. I mean, I really thought the Patriots trading back to get multiple first-round picks would have benefited everybody, including New England, to get 3 first-round picks to improve the roster. I mean, you saw how bad the roster was last night. It's not going to improve by the end of the season. So I really think the Patriots should play Jacoby Brissett for the rest of the season. Like, just start him and let Drake learn and go from there next year. Now, for the Bears-Colts. All right, this is, let's see here. Let's actually read a couple comments here. Let's see. I hope the Browns lose for the sake of my Bengals. Makes sense. Our run defense was fine against Kansas City. Also, how do you explain the DPI call to McDuffie when Chase dragged him to the ground to prevent an interception? Let's see here. Do the 49ers bounce back in week 3? They absolutely do, but we'll get to that in a minute. All right. Like I said, guys, if you're enjoying, please drop a like. Let's go ahead and get it going here. And that comment about the DPI was more so for the chat. But Bears-Colts. All right, guys. Keenan Allen is out. I want to make sure I have all of the latest injury reports. So Keenan Allen is out. Rome Odunze was dealing with an injury himself. Now, there were a couple of things today, or a couple things this week. Rome Odunze's dad, James Odunze, was tweeting clips of Rome being open last week, which I really didn't think was... I mean, I didn't think that was an ideal situation, to say the least. Whenever a first-round pick is... Our first-round pick's dad is tweeting about the quarterback, and that's hopefully things can get fixed. But what I'll say is the Bears' offense over the first 2 weeks of the season has not been great, and there's a lot of reasons for that. The offensive line has been horrific. There were a couple of plays last week in particular where Danielle Hunter just ate Darnell Wright's lunch and just took him to school, and that happened on the one interception in particular. I don't really fault Caleb for that interception. That just wasn't a ideal situation for anybody. That whole situation was that it was just bad. Caleb was sacked 7 times against the Texans. You're not going to win in situations like that. But for the Bears, fortunately, DeForest Buckner's out. He's out a couple weeks, so that's going to help them. What should also help the Bears is in the first couple weeks of the season, the Bears are just 29th in yards per carry. So Indy, on the other hand, has allowed over 450 yards of rushing through the first 2 weeks, and they just lost their best defensive lineman. So I'm hoping that hopefully we can help Caleb Williams out a little bit. Hopefully DeAndre Swift can get going, or if they want to go the running back by committee, and if they wish to go that route, I think DeAndre Swift is the best running back on that roster. I really don't think it's a debate. I'm really hoping the Bears try and establish the run in this game. Now, the Colts, and we'll get to this in a minute. Justin Ziegler, keep up the great work, man. Is it time to panic in Philly? Justin, I will answer that immediately after this game, immediately after this preview. I do appreciate the super chat very much, and hope you're doing well as well. But for Chicago, they need to ground and pound, and for that's the bottom line. Their defense is great. I have no concerns with their defense. I mean, you allow 19 points to the Texans and you allow 17 points to the Titans. 36 points in 2 games is going to get it done 10 out of 10 times. Period. I mean, 18 points per game. That's what you're going for. So with the Colts now, they're in a borderline dangerous situation because they have had the ball 20 minutes in each of the first 2 games. That's it. 20-40 is how they're losing the time of possession battle. And that's obviously not good, but when you get into weeks 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, and you don't have a lot of wins like the Colts don't right now, that's borderline, not quit on the team, but it's mentally check out. And guys, this is a must win for the Colts. And I know the Bears obviously don't want to fall to 1-2, but guys, you have a project quarterback in Anthony Richardson. This is a year coming off of a season in which the Colts went 9-8. They finished top 10 in offensive points per game, and they cannot do anything right now to stop opposing teams' run game. And you have a good quarterback that is one of the most athletic quarterbacks to ever play in the league, a great running back in Jonathan Taylor, a great offensive line. You need to pound the rock. You need to be able to get big. You need to be able to pound the ball between the trenches and milk that clock and help your defense out. Because if they don't, it's going to be a long season. And Anthony Richardson he also hasn't played as well as you would have liked through the first couple games, just being honest. I know the splash plays to Alec Pierce were there in week 1. But for Richardson specifically in week 2, the 1 interception in the first quarter was bad. He threw off his back foot. He didn't need to. He should have led the receiver down. Kind of illustrated, if you will. He should have led the receiver down. He should have brought him closer towards the line of scrimmage. He lofted it, let it go. It wasn't a good play. But if I had to give a score prediction for this game, again, please comment your score prediction. I would say I'm going to go with the Bears in a stunner. think it's going to be 20-17. I think it's going to be a really, really close game. And borderline, like, not rivalry, because obviously these teams aren't rivals, but the Illinois-Indiana aspect, the neighboring states. So I know there's going to be people paying attention to that. Obviously, the Bears and Colts specifically aren't rivals. But I'm going Bears 2017. So please comment your scores, and we'll keep it going here. All right. Will I sing the Colts hype song? I will not. That guy is shout out that guy, though. I know who you're talking about. Shout him out. All right. Justin, let's go ahead and dive into this. So appreciate the super chat. Keep up the great work. Love it. Appreciate it. Is it time to panic in Philly? It may be if they lose, and we'll discuss that more when their game comes up. But the bottom line, and we'll discuss this also later when the Eagles game comes up, I don't trust Nick Sirianni like I trust other head coaches. I mean, game is on the line, hell or high water. Who do you trust more, Nick Sirianni or Andy Reid or Kyle Shanahan? Or that might be a bad one because of the blown leads and everything. But my point is Kyle Shanahan to me is miles better of a head coach than Nick Sirianni. Nick also doesn't call the plays. And when you have this CEO type approach, you better be like a John Harbaugh. And I know that's not a great example right now, but John has a decade and a half of previous leadership experience and work where Nick doesn't. And Nick is, a lot of the time, on camera, going right up to the camera, making those faces like that. And it's just, it's not a good look for the head coach of the organization. So I do have a lot of concerns with Nick Sirianni. All right, let's see here. John Harbaugh is a horrible coach in 24. That's why I said we're going more so for the previous 15 years, because guys, being a head coach after 4 or 5 years in the NFL is tough, let alone year 15 or 16 or whatever year Harbaugh's in at this point. All right, now borderline game of the week here. Texans at Vikings. Obviously, you guys know I'm a Vikings fan, but guys, I gotta be honest. I'm a little nervous about the Vikings in this game. It was just announced, and I've been keeping track of the injury report just to make sure there's no surprising outs here in the last, as we are recording. But the Vikings have 3 key players out in this game, and they are Jordan Addison, they are Ivan Pace, and first round pick Dallas Turner. So that is not good, but I think the Vikings defense is going to be one of the best in the league. And it can't be understated how big of a loss Ivan Pace is going to be in this game. Ivan Pace is a very, very high IQ football player. He's a very, very good linebacker for just being a second-year player, and I think he's going to be in Minnesota for at least the next 5 or 6 years, and that's going to impact the game. And we'll see how it all plays out, but it's one I'm looking forward to. And this is going to be another test for Sam Darnold against the Texans defense. It's going to be a homecoming for Danielle Hunter and Stephon Diggs. Stephon was, of course, traded to the Bills back in the 2020 offseason, and he obviously had, played 4 years with the Bills, first year with the Texans. The Bills never traveled to Minnesota during that time period. So I hope everything is all good. I hope the fans, I'll just say this, I'm not going to be at the game because I'll be watching the game and then working on the weekly recaps, which will be out Sunday night. So there's no way I could travel from Minnesota to home and then do the weekly recap and still have them out in time. But I really hope the fans don't boo Stephon. He doesn't deserve that. The Minneapolis Miracle was absolutely incredible, and Stephon's frustrations was never with the fans. It was always with a head coach that's no longer there, and honestly a GM that's no longer there. So in some ways you could argue that if they would have got him the ball, that you could argue that Stephon was probably right. But anyway, back to the game. It's going to be it's going to be a chess match. Brian Flores against CJ Stroud is going to be it's going to be cinematic. I'll say that. There was a clip last week. Brock Purdy after the game said to Brian Flores when they were hugging post-game, he said, "Your scheme is crazy," and it had him confused all day. And there were several looks where Flores was running a double mug where he had 6 guys across the line, and he was running a Tampa 2 out of double mug, it's borderline insane to do that. With the Vikings 3 big starters out, or 3 big players out, in Addison, Ivan Pace, and Dallas Turner, especially Ivan Pace, because ultimately Justin Jefferson can more than make up for the production of Jordan Addison. This one scares me, and I think I am going to lean with the Texans, and we are going to go with the Texans win 24-20. I also think the Texans are going to ground and pound, and the 49ers did a really good job of that last week with Jordan Mason. I was kind of surprised to see them get away from that. I think the Texans are going to be able to run the ball a lot, and I think they're going to win, and it's not going to be panic time in Minnesota, but if the Vikings do start out 3-0, it's going to be very interesting. All right, Xander, appreciate the super chat. Lions have not lost 2 in a row since 2022. They've averaged a 17-plus point differential after a loss in the last 3 seasons. Big bounce-back game coming. We'll discuss that in a little bit. I mean, there's not going to be a lot of games where I outright predict the Lions to lose, just being honest. They are a loaded team. Everybody knows that. Everybody probably knows how I feel about the Lions. They are a very, very just complete roster. I mean, when you look at that team, truly, what is the weakness? I mean, you might have a game or two a season where, and I think he's a great player. Jared Goff he didn't have a good game last week. Ben Johnson didn't have a good game last week, but you're going to have 1 or 2 of those a year. So we'll get to the Lions in a minute, but you probably won't be surprised to know that I think the Lions are going to win. Now, if you are enjoying these guys, please drop a like. It helps tremendously. Appreciate everyone being in here. EJ says, keep doing these Friday streams. I really am enjoying them. That is the goal. Okay, so somebody commented Joe Mixon out. I know Joe Mixon was on the injury report all week, and I'm just confirming to see if he's out. All right. I'm looking at some tweets from Texans beat reporters. They say no sign of Joe Mixon or Dameon Pierce. Cam Akers continues to run with the first team, which would be interesting. We'll see how that goes. Although I still think Cam Akers is a borderline underrated back, and I think they're going to be fine. I still think the Texans are going to win 24-17. All right. I bet Ohio State fans and Michigan fans feel awkward about the Stroud and Collins duo. Yeah, that would be. I mean, it is like the ultimate rival, but we'll see. Or not, we'll see. But no, I mean that's. Nico and CJ Stroud. I was thinking about that too with Marvin Harrison and not Marvin Harrison, but so there was another like rivalry where I was thinking about that. I forget who the rivalry exactly was, but those are cool when you go back and they're rivals in college and now they're teammates in the NFL. Really appreciate the videos. Yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there, baby. A lot of big things on the horizon. Fire Ben Johnson. I don't know. I'm not going down that train. All right, Eagles Saints. The Eagles obviously did not have a good performance on Monday night. That was, and this goes back to the super chat from Justin where he asked if it's time to panic. And I think if the Eagles lose this in similar fashion, or if the Saints continue to put on a clinic with Clint Kubiak, then I think it would be time to panic. Because, guys, we can call this what it is. The Eagles are far too talented to look the way they did, or play the way they did against Atlanta in week 2. That to me was an embarrassment to what the Eagles have been, and Howie Roseman, what they've been building over the past couple of years. And Bryce Huff right now, I don't know if you guys have seen the clips. It's not good. I mean, Bryce Huff has not been a good player for the Eagles over the past, well, I mean, it's only been 2 games, but they signed him to a $17 million AAV contract, average annual value, if you are not familiar with AAV, and he's looked very, very bad. And it's not, I mean, that situation is not ideal. And Philly needs their edge to step up. They need their edge rushers to perform to the level they expect them to. Now, unfortunately for Philly, credit where it's due, man. And I'm probably going to do a video on the Saints offense at some point soon. But Talisi Fuaga, just 2 games into his career, if you liked Fuaga in the draft process, start to go ahead and take that victory lap because he has played phenomenal. I mean, he's out on the move. He's hitting guys on the run in the ground game. He's stoning guys or stonewalling guys in the pass protection game. Fuaga is already playing very, very well. And if you can keep the pressure out of Derek Carr's face, which they've done a phenomenal job of over the first 2 weeks of the season, guys, I'm going with the Saints to win. And I think they're going to put up a lot of points on the Eagles defense. I think this is going to be relatively high scoring. Now, for the Eagles' sake, I will say that A.J. Brown has not been ruled out yet. I don't know if he's going to play, but he has not been ruled out. And that was obviously a very big loss for them against the Falcons. And you can make a case that if they have A.J., maybe they win. That's neither here nor there. But I think the Saints are going to win. I think it's going to be 31-24. And I think Clint Kubiak is going to continue to look better and better. And I think there's going to be a real conversation internally for the Saints because I'll be honest, guys, I don't trust the in-game decision-making, and I don't trust a lot of things Dennis Allen does. I will continue to doubt Dennis Allen for at least the next couple of weeks. I do not doubt Clint Kubiak at all. And when you are winning games in the way that the Saints are, you don't really have to worry about Dennis Allen, losing games when you are beating teams by 25 plus points. But I think this is going to be a close one. I think New Orleans wins 31-24. Please drop any concerns. Sorry. I read a comment that had concerns in the comments. So drop any or any score predictions you have for this game. All right. Is there any concerns about Jalen Carter? Guys, that whole defensive line for Philly has not been playing well. I love Jordan Davis coming out of Georgia a couple years ago. He has not been playing well. He's borderline draft disappointment, borderline draft, the B word that nobody likes to be associated with. There's a lot of concern right now in Philly. The linebackers are obviously going to continue to be a concern. And yeah, there's a lot of concern right now in Philly. All right, on the plane ride home. I really hope Kirk celebrated that Eagles W on the plane ride home. Let's see here. All right, hot take, Ben Johnson is going to be head coach of the Eagles next year. I could see that. Bryce Huff has been very disappointing. Very, very disappointing. All right, thoughts on Chargers Steelers? Good question, because that's where we are. All right, Chargers Steelers. Jim Harbaugh, Mike Tomlin. This is going to be, if you guys love the football quotes, if you guys love the gritty, not gritty like the dance, but like the gritty, like hard-nosed, ground and pound defense, this is going to be the game for you. If you are expecting a 34-31 shootout, this is definitely not the game for you. Look literally anywhere else. I might even suggest the Giants and Browns may be more high-scoring than Chargers Steelers in Week 3. But what I'll say is this. J.K. Dobbins leading the NFL in rushing through 2 weeks. I am incredibly, incredibly happy for J.K. Dobbins to battle through everything he's went through. I know off the top of my head, he at least tore one ACL. I don't know if he tore an Achilles, but he's had multiple big, major injuries over the past few years. And I am so happy for J.K. to tear it up so far through the first couple of games. And I hope he continues to. And I think this is going to be just the ultimate low-scoring game. I have to be honest, I know Justin Fields and the Steelers are 2-0. That does not mean I trust Justin Fields, and that does not mean that I think the Steelers are going to, go 12-5, 13-4, and we actually have a video tomorrow coming out on how far these undefeated teams can go, which includes the Chargers and Steelers within the video. But guys, Justin Fields as of now has thrown for just 28 more passing yards than Bryce Young. He's not killing it by any means, and I don't expect that to change against the Chargers. I think Jim Harbaugh is a better coach than Mike Tomlin. I think he is going to continue to build the culture and build the leadership that he's been building over the past couple of months. And to be honest with you guys, I think the Chargers start out 3-0. And this is going to be, there might not even be 30 combined points scored in this game. Also, please remember Justin Herbert has not been asked to do a lot so far this year. And I don't expect that to change either in Week 3. If they can pound the rock behind Rashawn Slater and Joe Alt and Zion Johnson, then they're going to continue to. And that's what I expect the Chargers to try and do. If they're obviously going to want to limit the hits that TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith place on Justin Herbert. And I think it's going to be something along the lines of 13-10, 13-9, maybe even 12-10. It's going to be real low scoring, but I do think the Chargers are going to win this game. All right, let's see here. Remember when people thought Dobbins was done? I was too. I remember that. Yes, I was always hoping for JK to bounce back. Herbert is questionable. Right now. They did say he sustained they said he sustained a ankle sprain against the Panthers, but he's questionable right now. But we are going to go on to not Broncos Packers. Broncos Bucks is where we're going to move on here. All right. Broncos Bucks. Guys, I have a lot of concern right now with the situation around Bo Nix. Not necessarily Bo himself, but this is from Schefter. Texans are listing Joe Mixon as doubtful for Sunday. Okay, so like people were commenting, they expect Cam Akers to play, and there was a reason that Cam Akers was getting reps with the ones all week. So, back to the Broncos Bucks. So, the Broncos situation, guys, I know they just lost McGlinchey for a couple weeks, I think, is the result of last week's injury. They have the most expensive offensive line in the NFL. Credit to them for spending, truly, because you have to give your guys a chance. But for Bo Nix to be the leading rusher through the first 2 weeks and to go into Tampa against a Todd Bowles coach defense with your 24-year-old first-round, 6th quarterback drafted as your leading rusher, good luck. Good. That is what you need to know for this game. Good luck, because they're going to need it. I don't expect it to be relatively close. The score may not be 45-10, but it's going to be it should at least be a dominating performance by the Bucs. I think it'll be like 20-7. I mean, guys, I wouldn't put it past the Broncos to score less than 10 points. I mean, it is going to be a very, very tough game. I don't have a lot of confidence in the Broncos in this one. I really don't. There was a stat last week that said the Broncos averaged, or before their running backs were hit, so not, excluding Bo Nix's rushing stats, their running backs were hit on average 0.6 yards behind the line of scrimmage. That was where first contact was. And now you're playing Todd Bowles' defense in Tampa. I don't think this is going to be a good outcome for Denver. If Bo Nix plays his tail off and they win, I think that would be one of the biggest upsets you'll see in the entire 2024 season. So give me Tampa 20-7. All right, Packers Titans. So let's see here. Blowout is definitely on watch, especially in Tampa. The problem with these young quarterbacks is really C.J. Stroud's doing. The latest example being Bryce Young. Everyone wants the genie in the bottle. You're not wrong. Bucks are good. As for Chargers Steelers, it will be a defensive running game. It 100% will be. Josh Reynolds been an okay wide receiver. I'm pretty sure I'd say 24-3. Yeah, I don't think Denver's going to put up points in Tampa. I really don't. I mean, unless they get a couple turnovers, a couple weird plays, they're going to have a lot of them to go their way. So Packers Titans, right now, Jordan Love is questionable. Full transparency, I don't expect him to play. I think that would be, I would just be surprised if Jordan Love plays in that game. So we have, more than likely, Malik Willis going back to Nashville. Let's actually see what we have. Some other notifications. Yeah, that's not Schefter, so disregard. We have Malik Willis going back to Tennessee. This is, to me, as must win as it gets for the Tennessee Titans, because their defense, and I want to praise them so much for what they're doing, because what they're doing, guys, is incredible. I mean, they've allowed 413 total yards of opposing offense in the first 2 weeks. They lead the league in yards allowed defensively, and they're 0-2. And we all know the plays, whether it was the underhand pick 6 in week 1 or whether it was the throw behind the line of scrimmage in week 2. That is the difference between being 0-2 and 2-0 and the outlook on the season. Now, I did release, when we did the Tennessee Titans team preview, I titled the video, "The Tennessee Titans are a team nobody wants to play," and it's because of how they've looked defensively in the first 2 weeks. So if they can stop the run against Green Bay, against Malik Willis, which I think they're going to be able to, I think the Titans can win. This is another one where I think it's going to be low scoring. The Packers beat the Colts last week. They ran for over 250 yards as a team, and good for them, but they didn't put up 30 points in the process, and I don't think that's going to happen this week either. I think we're going to have a lot of defensive battles, a lot of low-scoring games this week, and I know people are getting frustrated with the lack of offense, and even Mel Kiper the other day said we should ban too high defenses, which was ridiculous, by the way. But this is going to be another low-scoring. I think it's going to be along the lines of 17-13, and as long as we don't get the Will Levis, what are you doing play, I think Tennessee's going to win. That's where I stand on that. I don't expect a lot out of Malik Willis. His career high in passing yards last week was 122. That's in 5 career starts. So don't expect a lot from the Packers passing game in this one. Now, if Jordan Love starts, I think that's an entirely different discussion. But right now he's questionable, and you just invested $220 million, $210, whatever, $220 in Jordan Love. I hope they kind of long-term let it play out, but we'll see. I think it's going to be 17-14 Titans over the Packers. Now, Panthers Raiders, this is going to be, let's actually discuss this real quick here. All right, let's see. What's up with Will Levis? I feel like he showed some flashes last season. I agree with you when you said he's a young Josh Allen. I just don't know how he can turn it around. The thing is the Titans have been in the games. If you take away those 2 plays, they're arguably 2-0 now. The Jets maybe not, but the Bears, to allow them to come back without an offensive touchdown is terrible. There's no way around that. But I think the Titans are going to be fine. Will just needs to settle in, and this is honestly going to be, as of now, the biggest game of Will Levis's career. I don't know if that's a hot take, but this game is the biggest game of Will Levis's career, because if he plays like he showed last year against the Falcons, then everybody's bought back in, and he has a couple weeks to ease everyone's nerves. But this is the biggest game of Will Levis's career. All right, Panthers or Raiders. I think this is going to be a tough one for Bryce Young for a couple of reasons. Everybody obviously saw that Bryce was benched this week, but and while you can argue that that's the lowest point, I would argue the lowest point is going to be Sunday, when you see Andy Dalton throw for over 220 yards, and you see Andy Dalton connecting with the receivers, and you see him staying strong in the pocket and not bouncing it out to take a sack. And the Bryce Young, experiment as a Panther has been sad at times. It really has, because the Bryce Young that everybody saw at Alabama is nowhere to be found. I mean, guys, it is nowhere to be found. And it's I'm going to feel really bad for Bryce when Andy Dalton looks like a competent NFL player at the position on Sunday. And maybe I have another hot take. I don't doubt that a Carolina receiver goes for over 100 yards in this game. Now, I do think the Raiders are going to win. And I would also say that it's a disadvantage for the Raiders to have to game plan against Andy Dalton when there's no tape on him this year, although you can go back for the last, 5-10 years and look at tape of Andy Dalton. And obviously Andy's not one of the best quarterbacks in the league by any means. He's a backup for a reason. But going up against Bryce Young and him bouncing out of the pocket and having Max Crosby and everybody else get after him and Malcolm Kuntz and Christian Wilkins, that would be way more favorable for the Raiders, and they would, I would think, convincingly go to a 2-1 start if Bryce Young was playing. I still think they're going to win the game, but I think it's going to be a little more high scoring than you think. Not shootout, but I think it's going to be something along the lines of 24-21 Raiders over Panthers. I think the best thing the Raiders can do is continue to get the rock to Brock Bowers and Devontae Adams. Obviously, Brock is, at this rate, he may be in the conversation for Offensive Rookie of the Year. Him, Marvin Harrison Jr., Malik Neighbors, depending on how the quarterbacks pan out. But Brock has all the potential in the world, and I wouldn't be surprised if the Raiders have 2 1,000-yard receivers this year with Devontae and Brock. So continue to get them the football and let the defense get after Andy Dalton. But I think it's going to be higher scoring than you think. I think there'll be around 45 to 47 total points scored. But I think the Raiders win 24-21. All right, let's go. This next one, kind of just a, not the Lions, kind of a sad one with the Dolphins situation with Tua. Skylar Thompson is starting, and I would imagine, well, I mean, I don't know. Who do you guys think is gonna win? Because I think the Seahawks are gonna win, but I would imagine most of us feel that way. But I'm eager to see where you guys think. So I am eager to see where you guys stand. Bruce says the Panthers are winning the Super Bowl with Andy Dalton. Mark my words. That's a take. But anyway, guys, the Seahawks are off to a 2-0 start. Now, I know they played the Broncos and Patriots, and I know you can say, well, it's Bo Nix and then the situation that the Patriots have. But they're going to be good all year. I mean, their defense is led by who I think is one of the best defensive minds in all of football. I think Mike McDonald is and Brian Flores are right up there, neck and neck. And it's going to be a long day for Skylar Thompson. The best thing that the Dolphins can do is get the ball out quick. Do not set Skylar Thompson up to fail. Get the ball in your playmakers' hands. Get the ball to Devon Achane. Get the ball to Tyreek. Get the ball to Waddle. As quick as you can, get the ball out of his hands. So, how many points are the Dolphins actually going to put up? I don't know. It's not going to be a shootout. And I think the Dolphins' defense is going to, I mean, keep in mind, they're also down a couple of guys, which is unfortunate, but I just have a hard time seeing the Seahawks lose this game. I mean, to have Skylar Thompson go to Seattle, go in there, back up, stadium's going to be rocking, and win, I don't see it. I'd be eager to see where you guys stand on this, but I would be very surprised if the Seahawks lose this one. Somebody commented Seahawks and the under, and that's where I would stand with this as well. I think it's going to be somewhere around like 23-16, 23-14, somewhere in there. I think it's going to be, honestly, less than 40 points total scored. Although I do want to say Geno Smith has been playing well. I'm a big Geno Smith fan. I think Geno has just supreme and utter control around the line of scrimmage. I think he does a great job, and I don't think people appreciate how good of a player Geno Smith is, because I know Geno used to be the big meme with everything and all the pick sixes and that he was a journeyman, and then 2022 is kind of a insanity run, but I like Geno a lot, and I think the Seahawks are going to come out on top, and I think they're going to be off to a 3-0 start. All right. Who wins the Reek versus Reek matchup? I don't know how many chances they're actually going to get to go against each other, just because it's going to be, I mean, McDonald's going to throw everything he can at the Dolphins' offense. He's going to be running a lot of simulated pressures. I don't know how many chances Tariq Woolen is going to go up against Tyreek Hill. I really don't. Maybe this might be a hot take, but I'd rather have Witherspoon against Tyreek Hill than I would Tariq Woolen, but we'll see how that goes. That's definitely a matchup I'm looking forward to, though. Good call out. Brandon, good call out on that one. All right, and then, okay, so let's keep going here. All right, what if the Dolphins upset the Seahawks? That would shock the world. It would, 100%. It would 100%. All right, we are now on to Lions-Cardinals. After Geno, where do you think they go at quarterback? Sorry, I'll answer this real quick. After Geno, where do you think they go at quarterback? I don't know, because Geno's not that old. So that's kind of something that has to be, like, he's been in the league a while, but I mean, at this point, I know this is going to be crazy to say, but good luck trying to replace what Geno's done for them and what he brings to the table. He's not, I'll actually confirm how old Geno is, because Geno's not as old as you think. I know some people probably think he's like 36, but he's only 33. He'll turn 34 in October, but he's not, 37, 38. All right, Lions, Cardinals. All right, Lions are coming off a tough loss last week. In a lot of ways, the Lions, they kind of played themselves. It was a very, very winnable game, and they lost. I mean, they had over 450 yards of offense, which you're not going to see many games where they have over 450 yards of offense and still lose. They lost the turnover battle 2-1, and they only put up 16 points. As much as I like the Cardinals as tough and as frisky of an opponent as I think the Cardinals are going to be all year, I would be surprised if the Lions lose back-to-back games. Little peek ahead for the Lions. They play Seattle next week. Then they have a Week 5 bye. And then they go to Dallas, and then they go to Minnesota. So Lions, a bit of a tough schedule coming up. And I certainly don't think they're going to lose, 4 or 5 in a row. Let's go ahead and clear the airway on that one. But I think this is borderline must-win for the Lions because of that schedule they have coming up. I mean, when you have the Seahawks, Cowboys, and Vikings coming up, and then even the Titans defense after that, that's a span of 4 or 5 straight really difficult games. And then even after the Titans game, they go to Green Bay and go to Houston. So the Lions' first 9 games are going to be hard. There's no way around that. So this is one where the Lions, they're a better team. I think they're a better coached team, and I think they're going to take care of business. I think it'll be anywhere from a 3 to 6 point game. If I had to guess a score, I think the Lions offense is going to be back in a big way this week. I think Ben Johnson is going to study the film and kind of correct the wrongs that he had last week, because last week was not the best game from Ben Johnson. And Lions fans would acknowledge that too. There were a couple of situations, the play at the end of the first half where it cost them points, where they had no short of 20 guys on the field. Just an all-around ugly loss for the Lions. In what was a game they still could have won. So I think the Lions are going to take care of business 30-24. I really love the duo of Kyler and Marv. I was so glad, and this is a joke, by the way, but I was so glad to see that Marvin Harrison Jr. is not a draft bust after his 1-catch, 4-yard performance in Week 1. Oh, man, sorry, I thought I had to sneeze there, guys. I thought I had to blow my nose there. Anyway, I was glad to see that. I'm good, by the way. I was glad to see that Marvin Harrison Jr. was not a bust after his Week 1 performance. But I think the Lions are going to win 30-24. It's going to be a good game. It's actually one I'm really, really looking forward to. But perhaps the game that I am most looking forward to is the game that's going to be played at 4:25, game of the week, Ravens-Cowboys. So, Ravens-Cowboys, 0-2 Ravens. That's not something we hear a lot. 1-1 Cowboys, that is something we hear more often than the 0-2 Ravens. But, guys, this is borderline desperate territory for the Ravens, especially with how they lost last week. Now, the Ravens, believe it or not, lead the league in losses since 2021 with, I want to say it's 10-point fourth quarter leads. Not, hey, we got up 24-17 with 14 minutes left in the fourth, but double-digit fourth quarter leads, and they had another one last week. And that's not good. I mean, obviously, but I'm a big John Harbaugh fan, and I've never openly said to outright fire John Harbaugh, and I'm still not. But if you lose to Dallas and you fall to 0-3, and then you have next week where they play Buffalo on Sunday night, and then I want to say they play Cincinnati after that. I'm actually going to confirm this. I'm 99% sure those are their next 3 games. Guys, that's not a good situation to be in. The Ravens' next 3 games are at Dallas, home against Buffalo on Sunday night, at Cincinnati. They need to win 2 or 3. I mean, they have to be 2-3 after Week 5. I'm going to go with the Ravens to win this one. But if they fall to 0-3, they have to win the next 2, which would be home against Buffalo and at Cincy. The Ravens cannot exit Week 5 with a 1-4 record if they have any intention of going far this year, because the Ravens absolutely can. I mean, that roster is loaded. I was so frustrated to see them lose that game last week. For Dallas, I know I just spent all that time on the Ravens, but for Dallas, that defense last week was awful, and there's no way around that. It was absolutely miserable. There was a play last week, the big Rashid Shaheed touchdown. It wasn't anything crazy. It was a cover 2 defense, and in cover 2, you have each guy, covering the back here. In the secondary, you have guy back. Hold on, I'm trying to get more in the camera. Back left and then back right, and Rashid Shaheed just split the gap. I mean, he just split it right down the middle. I mean, you have to you can't go back and cover. I mean, it was a frustrating loss because it was just like, what are you doing? And they were down 35-16 at half. And guys, if the Cowboys give up 30 points to the Ravens this week, I'm going to have a lot of concerns with the Cowboys defense. And Lamar always plays well against non-conference teams. And I have a theory that teams don't really know just how much ground and how much stamina it requires to play the Ravens. And I know that may sound incredibly obvious because, we see it every Sunday, how fast Lamar is, how much ground he covers, and how fun he is to watch. But I really think whenever you have, actual grown men out there running around chasing Lamar, trying to bring him down, that people don't realize it. And that's why I think the Ravens continuously dominate NFC teams. And that also plays into why I think the Ravens are going to win. And I think it's going to be 27-20 Baltimore. So I'm eager to see where you guys are on that one. Please drop a score. Let's see here. Ravens are going to Ravens. Lamar 19-1 NFC. Good call, Sam. Good call out there. That is, and that's my thing, is the Ravens are a very difficult team to beat. All right, 49ers at Rams. Dustin says, I'm a Cowboys fan and the Ravens are going to roast us. I could see Lamar having a big day. At least you're honest, man. At least you're honest. I have to respect that. All right, 49ers at Rams. 49ers are, let me confirm this real quick. I think they're out they were possibly out a couple of players. And it was a couple of big players. I want to say CMC's obviously out. We know that one. Ayuk. No, sorry. CMC, Debo, and then Kittle I saw might be out. I still think they're going to be fine, guys. The Rams defense is very banged up. Now, we were discussing the Rams-Cardinals preview last week, and somebody was upset that I didn't discuss the Rams defensive line, and I want to specifically shout out Jared Verse. Jared Verse is going to be a very, very good player. He already is leading the rookie class in pressures. I went through his tape specifically this week. I watched all of his pass rushing snaps. He's a freak, man. He's a very, very good player. I like Jared Verse a lot, but I also am not going to say, oh man, Jared Verse is going to wreck the game. He's going to have 4 sacks and 2 strip sacks, and he's going to run one back for a touchdown. The Rams are going to stay in the game. The Rams are, I don't like talking bad about a team, or at least putting them down rather, because if a team fails miserably and they continuously fail, kind of like the 22 Broncos, like with Russell, let's just keep, with Nathaniel Hackett, keep trotting him out and hope that it gets better. That's a different situation. But with the Rams, when you have Puka hurt, when you have Cooper hurt, when you have a bunch of linemen hurt, it's just a sad situation. And I think the 49ers are going to win. I don't think it's going to be that eventful of a game. I think Jordan Mason could rush for over 100 yards, but I trust the 49ers more in this one. I think the defense is going to get after Matt Stafford, and I kind of feel bad for Matt Stafford at this point, especially, you're going to have Nick Bosa, Javon Hargrave, everybody getting after him, Yator Gross-Matos for that matter too. I worry about Matt Stafford. I hope he stays healthy behind that offensive line, behind that banged up offensive line, but I think the 49ers are going to win. I think it's going to be 24-14, and I'd be eager to see where you guys stand on this one. Did we already go over Texans-Vikings? Yes. All right. Let's see here. Chiefs-Falcons, Sunday night. All right. Guys, I'll ask this in the nicest way that I can. Do you think Kirk Cousins is going to win back-to-back primetime games? And this one's against Patrick Mahomes. I don't. I mean, and now there's a lot more to it than that. I don't want it to be just Kirk versus Patrick. But the Chiefs defense is legit. They allowed 25 points last week, and the Chiefs offense set them up to fail in a lot of ways. I mean, they turned the ball over a couple times. Mahomes had one of the worst games of his career last week against the Bengals, and they only allowed 20 in week 1 to Baltimore. The Chiefs defense is one of the best in the NFL. I think they're going to get after Kirk consistently, and I think the Falcons will keep it close, don't get me wrong, but when it comes hell or high water, I'm not going to choose a Kirk Cousins-led offense to beat a Steve Spagnuolo coach defense. I'm not. And the Chiefs beat the Vikings last year when Kirk was still on the team 27-20. I think it's going to be pretty close to that. If you pick any of those 23-16, 24-17, somewhere in there. I think it's going to be a very close game. This is one I'm looking forward to. It's going to be a good way to end the Sunday slate of games, but I am going to go with the Chiefs. I think it's going to be somewhere like 24-16 Kansas City. Now, speaking of desperate teams, guys, the Jags are one of the most desperate teams in the NFL right now. They actually scare me. They actually scare me. All right. The Jags scare me for a couple of reasons, because Doug Peterson I don't think is the guy. I loved the Doug Peterson hire when it was made, but in the couple of years since, what exactly have the Jags done to help out Trevor Lawrence? I mean, it's Christian Kirk has been the guy, Calvin Ridley for a year, and then they let him go to a division rival. Evan Ingram he's a catch machine, but he's not exactly, I mean, Evan Ingram doesn't exactly strike fear into opposing defenses. There's a lot of concerns with the Jags. The offensive line has always been a question, although Ezra Cleveland has played good so far this year. But I have a lot of concerns with second-year right tackle Anton Harrison. And if you have to ask me right now, if I think the Jags are going into Buffalo and winning with as many question marks as they have along the offensive line, and given that the Bills are on nearly 2 full weeks of rest because they played last Thursday, I mean, guys, that is nearly 2 weeks. A week and a half, but close to 2 weeks of rest. Guys, I'm going Buffalo. I don't trust the Jags to go in and beat the Bills. I'm sorry. I don't know where you guys stand on that, but I don't. And I think it's going to be relatively low scoring. But I have a lot of question marks around the Jags. I don't think they are as bad as other teams across the league. I don't think they're going to finish with a bottom 5 record. And, I mean, I think they're going to be good enough to get 7 to 8 wins. But I think, like we're going to see a lot of the time this year, whenever the Jags play an elite team, I think I wouldn't be surprised at all if the Jags finish 1-5, 1-6 against playoff teams this year. I really wouldn't. So give me Buffalo in this one. I think it's going to be, say like 24-19. I just don't trust the Jags to go into Buffalo and win. All right. LSU quarterback battle. Jaden Daniels versus Joe Burrow. Commanders Bengals. Bengals are 0-2. They are in a borderline, well, not borderline. They're in a desperate situation. They need a win. We can call that what it is. They need a win in the worst way. And I like Brian Robinson Jr. I like Jaden Daniels. I'll say this. I think it's going to be a very close game. I think it's going to be a lot closer of a game than people probably think. I think some people are going to say, well, you know, the Bengals only lost to the Chiefs by 1 last week. They're back. They're going to put up 35 and the Commanders defense win 35-17 or something like that, right? But guys, the Bengals rushing defense is not good. I think both Jaden Daniels and Brian Robinson are great starts this week in fantasy if you play fantasy football. And I think there's a chance that the Commanders take an early lead. I mean, I think the Bengals are going to win. But I think there's a chance the Commanders take an early lead and then try and really milk the clock and keep Joe Burrow off the field. And that's obviously the best way to prevent the Bengals from scoring is to have Joe Burrow and have Jamar Chase on the sidelines. Ultimately, I think the Bengals are going to win. And I think it's going to be a pretty good game. I really do think this is going to be a good game. I know some people probably scoff at the idea of the Commanders going into Cincinnati and putting up a fight. But if Cliff can call a good game, or no, yeah, right, Cliff. If they can call a good game offensively, it's gonna be a lot better of a game than people probably think when they first look at Commanders Bengals. Because where the Bengals are bad is where the Commanders are good. Now, I don't expect the Commanders defense to put up much of a fight. I'll just be honest there. I mean, I don't think it's gonna be like 17-13. I think this has the chance to be the highest scoring game of the week. I really do. It's going to be fun. I also think Terry McLaurin will do a lot better than he has through the first couple of weeks. We need to get that average depth of target a lot longer. There's been a lot of discussion around Jaden Daniels throwing only within 5 yards of the line of scrimmage. But if I had to put a score in this one, I think it'll be 31-24 Bengals. I think there will be over 50 total points scored in this game. I think it's going to be a great game, and I don't think it's just one to scoff at just because it's Jaden Daniels and the Commanders with the number 2 pick. They're gonna give Cincy a game. And again, I do think the Bengals are gonna win. But let's go ahead and dive into a couple Q&As here. I'm calling a Commanders upset. That's a bold take. Hot take: Scary Terry will never break out, and it makes me sad. I disagree. I think he's broke out. I mean, he's a multiple-time 1,000-yard receiver. I like Terry. But guys, I hope you. By the way, not going anywhere, but I hope you guys like the format of having the having the team logos everywhere. So I hope you guys did enjoy that, because spent some time today, going through, downloading all the logos and then typing them out. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that, because we're going to continue to do this in the coming weeks. I enjoy sitting back, going live with you guys, and hopefully you guys do too. It helps when rewatching the stream. Yeah. That's also the big thing, Brandon. That is also the big thing, is I wanted to be able to not have people guess and say, oh, well, what game is he talking about now? You can clearly see what game is being discussed. So that was another thing that I wanted to do. All right. Let's see here. OBS scenes are a pain. Yeah, they can be. They can be. For sure. And that's what I use as OBS. I don't know if you knew that for sure, but that is what I use. Definitely messed with the new format. Good to hear, Costco. Good to hear. Do I think Josh Jacobs will be able to plow past Tennessee's defense? That's just a funny way to put that question. I think it's going to be a tighter game than people think. I really do. And I think I don't know what people think of the Packers-Titans. I think it's going to be a close game. I think it's going to be a 3-point game either way. If somebody wins by double digits, I would be very, very surprised. I would be very surprised. Let's see here. Talk about my Jets. Good team win last night. Really good team win. And like I said before, that was why I thought the Patriots should have traded out of the number 3 pick. Now, if Drake May is a franchise quarterback, and if he proves to be one, great. But they're at least like a year and a half, 2 years away from like doing anything. So if you have that rookie window, I mean, it's essentially going to be gone. I mean, like, what are they going to do? The Patriots have had chances with. There was a couple of receivers in particular that did not want to go there. It was Brandon Ayuk. I know didn't want to go there. There was somebody else. I think was it T. Higgins? There was somebody else that didn't want to go to New England because of the situation. Evil, appreciate the super chat. Like I said, appreciate everyone that gives super chats. They are always appreciated. And he says, how do the Raiders really get Bowers, top 5 tight end? They got Bowers because of the positional value in the draft. And whenever you have tight ends in the draft, I know Kyle Pitts and his NFL career hasn't been great, but Kyle Pitts as an NFL draft prospect was phenomenal. I mean, he was like the guy. And the Raiders got Bowers simply because there were 6 quarterbacks taken in front of him. There were 3 receivers taken in front of him. There was 3 tackles because of Alt, Latham, and Fashanu, and one of the best players in the draft fell into the Raiders' lap. And I really did like what the Raiders did this draft with Brock Bowers, with Jackson Powers-Johnson from Oregon. I really liked what the Raiders did. Let's see here. I like these streams because very few people I know actually like football, so it's nice to talk football with people who actually know football. Yeah, I mean, look, guys, everybody comments. I mean, we're trying to build a community here. That's what we're trying to do. And now that the channel is, decently established, I'm trying to go like more live. That way we can, continuously have that community and continue to build the community. And that's what we're trying to do. And that is the goal. All right. What is the problem with the Steelers offense? They're not a great unit. I mean, they're led by Justin Fields. Justin Fields is not a great player. Their run game, they also haven't been a lot in the run game. They also haven't been able to consistently get the ball to George Pickens and Pat Freiermuth as much as they should, which is frustrating. I know that, and by the way, Steelers fans, if you are watching that, I know they had a couple plays called back due to penalty. I understand that, but you have a couple plays called back due to penalty. Does that really excuse one offensive touchdown in 2 games? If you have just 2 plays called back due to penalty, I mean, we're talking 1 offensive touchdown in 2 games, 31 points in 2 games. There's a lot of concerns with the Steelers offense moving forward. A lot. All right, let's see here. Do I plan to live stream games? Good question. I will not live stream like Sunday 1, 4, 8 o'clock. I can't personally. Maybe a Thursday night game coming up. I plan to live stream the Vikings-Jets London game in week 5. That is on a Sunday morning, 9:30 start. I do plan to live stream that, and then we would go right into, well, the 1 o'clock slate would be after that, but then I'd have to recap the Vikings-Jets game and then the Thursday game, so we'd have to do all that. But I do plan to live stream the Vikings-Jets, so that'd be fun. So Vikings-Jets, week 5, London. Yeah, it'd be a pretty fun one. All right. How much better can the Bears' offensive line get in a week? That's the tough one. Not a lot, to answer your question, but the thing is what they can do is, well, not play the Texans' defensive line, and they're going to look a lot better this week against the Colts. That's going to be one thing for sure. And the Colts have given up over 450 rushing yards in 2 games. I mean, the Colts right now are on a historic pace, rushing defense-wise. So that's going to inevitably look better for the Bears in week 3. So from an actual question of how much better can they get just offensive line, not a lot, but they're not going to play Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson every single week, and they're going to get better as the season goes on, or they're going to get more accustomed to what everybody else is doing within the offense. So the Bears are not going to be like the best offensive line by the end of the season, but I think they will eventually get closer to average than what we've seen over the first couple weeks. All right, let's see here. How do I feel about the Seahawks defense? I love it. I mean, I love it. I'm a big Mike Macdonald fan. I love Mike Macdonald. He does a really, really phenomenal job of running what's called simulated pressures. Basically what that is there will be 6 or 7 guys along the defensive line. Obviously, the offensive line can only block 5. So what Macdonald will do is if they have 7 guys along the defensive line, if you load one side, if you have 5 on one side and then you have 2 on the other, obviously, the offensive line is going to have to go where the numbers are. They can't just say, okay, we have 3 on 5. We're just going to go with that and then just see how it works out, right? Obviously, it's not going to work out. So what he'll do is he'll send he'll send 4 from one side, 1 from the other, and then the numbers, there will be somebody come unblocked somewhere. McDonald to me is a defensive genius. I don't know if I did a good job of explaining that, but he does a really good job of schematically getting guys open. And there's a reason right now that Boye Mafe is second in the NFL in pressures with 15 through 2 games. I really like McDonald. All right, let's see here. Mike Macdonald seasoned, yeah, he's a beast. Love the content. It's only a 2-game sample, but how different would the Cardinals and Giants offenses look if they swapped MHJ and Neighbors? Not a lot, I don't think. I mean, I think both. I never thought there was a huge gap. Like, I didn't think Marv was Calvin Johnson, that Neighbors was... I'm trying to think of somebody like DJ Moore. Like, not that DJ Moore's bad, but I didn't think there was a gap between first ballot Hall of Famer and Pro Bowl receiver. I thought they were both really, really good prospects. So I don't think there would be that much of a difference personally. Let's see here. Kyler is much better than Daniel Jones. Agree? Yes. Yeah. Everyone agrees with that. How fast do you think offensive coordinators will steal Kubiak's playbook? You might even see it this week. I mean, it's fast to answer your question. I mean, you have to remember, guys, that is literally their job. So like, I would imagine, and I don't have any intel on this to like, oh, this is what happens inside locker rooms, but I would imagine that one of the first things offensive coaches do Sunday night, Monday morning, before they are right around as they're installing that week's game plan, let's take a look at the 30, 40, 50-yard plays from this past week, maybe even the 20-plus yard plays, and just see what worked. How did it go against this coverage? Did we run a rail mesh against cover 2, and did somehow somebody just leak open or whatever, right? Whatever the concept may be, how did this guy get open? How did this guy get open? So this week, they're going to start stealing from Kubiak very, very soon. Can the Panthers escape with an upset win on Sunday? They can, but I don't think they're going to. But I think Andy Dalton's going to look all right. I think it's going to be a lot closer than people probably think. And I would argue the worst for Bryce Young hasn't happened yet, aside from, he's got benched and everybody's the public part. But I think it's going to be bad on Sunday whenever the Panthers look like a competent offense with an NFL caliber quarterback, because the Bryce Young that played for the Panthers this year was not an NFL caliber quarterback, as much as that pains me to say. I think the worst for Bryce is going to be on Sunday when they play all right. All right, let's see here. All right, what are your bets this week? I'll be betting my entire net worth in your predictions. We do not condone that. So definitely no comment there. Definitely no comment on that. We do not condone that. JK, comeback player of the year. JK, Sam Darnold, they'd both be up there. Honestly, Derek Carr? No, not Derek Carr. He had a not awful year last year. JK and Sam Darnold would be the ones right now. All right, after a coach firing or a quarterback benching, teams usually win. That seems accurate. Let's see, how quick does Kubiak get a head coaching offer? Quick, like this offseason, quick. Jags, Eagles, maybe Bears. I mean, you're going to have a great situation because you're going to have Trevor, you're going to have Caleb, you're going to have Jalen Hurts, Saquon, AJ. If any of those coaches get fired, take your choosing. This offseason, if Clint Kubiak keeps the pace, they will 100%, he will get an offer. But guys, that is going to wrap up the week 3 preview. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. And if you did, and if you're not already, I don't know how many people are in here are subscribed, but please subscribe if you are enjoying the content. I will post a video tomorrow, and then we'll have the week 3 recap out Sunday night. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the stream, and it's going to wrap it up. So I'll catch you guys. See you tomorrow. Video releasing 10 a.m. Loaded week 3. And until next time, please be safe and have a great